BCA-101. This is from Friday. This would be day 26, 3/24/17. Protocols, rules for communication. Protocols, some rule for communication. For example, TCP/IP is a set of protocols. They allow us to create an IP address, a logical address. We looked this up. This was the one my computer had. And then we have a physical address, a MAC address, media access control. And it looks like this in the computer. Okay, so these two, these were from the computer that I was at, the instructor, Dirksen. And I got those from a command prompt by typing IP config all. Ethernet's a protocol that basically uses MAC address in order to locate computers, typically from a switch. Wi-Fi, there's a protocol for sending the signal through the air and how we match that up. That also can use MAC address. LTE, whether you are working at 3G or 4G or they're talking about a new 5G, we don't know exactly where that's at yet, but that's also a protocol, a particular way to communicate, rules for communication. So for example, your phone can communicate through the air using this technology, which is different than Wi-Fi. We'll talk more about that later on. All of these protocols actually send packets. They organize the information in a packet and then they send it. Then they organize some more information in another packet and then they send that. More on that here in a minute. Alright, so these addresses here for example, on this work server 1, we access that using this private address internally. Got a password, last name, first initial. If you're on the public, if you're out in the public internet and you want to access it, you would use this public address. This is a private IP address. They actually get changed right here in this router. This router changes it to a public address as it leaves, and when it comes back, let's say the brown is coming back, when it gets here, it converts it back to the private address internally. Same thing, we can have a phone that connects to an access point, and that sends the information out. Here, this would all be on a private IP address. The access point knows which device is which because the media access control device is numbered, okay, the MAC address. So earlier we talked about we have these networking devices. That's a switch, this is a multi-layered switch, we've got a router, all those are network devices that allow these end devices like PCs and phones and so forth, kind of like an edge there, that allows those end devices to communicate. Let's take a look at a picture of the whole thing. So we have here my end device communicates to the switch, the information goes through, gets converted to a public address, goes out on the internet. The internet sends back based on the public address, gets it back to our ISP, sends it internally, and this router knows that address is this way compared to other public addresses used at the college for the main campus. So we could go out to some site on the internet, and then it sends the information back. And what's being sent are literally packets of information, one after another. And we'll talk more about that later on. Here at the college, if you're connected to one of the... Alright. Let me add a couple things here. We talk about, to finish this up, whoa! Rules of communication, we already talked about that. IP version 4, that's this address, and we'll talk more about IP6 later. We talked about the physical address, the IP address. We talked about the command prompt, type in config all to get that information. And that would be it for today.